and welcome back to the Constitutionals podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Welcome back in. Here we are in episode 353. I pray that is true. I don't know if that's true or not. Here we go. Hey, listen. The thing is, we're here. It is Friday night. People are out having a good time with their buddies. I'm peeking. I have to turn this down. I live next to multiple bars. I'm here in my apartment. Woke up at 4 p.m. True? 4:30. It was 4 or 4:30. It doesn't matter. I didn't get any sleep last night. Still went to the gym. Went grocery shopping, took Maverick to Grant Park on a walk, took some pictures in front of at Grant Park here in Atlanta, Georgia. There's there was like a spooky display of some type of stuff. Halloween decorations, there we go. So there we go. And then I came home and I had some lunch from Little Tart Bake Shop, and then I decided, okay, I'm going to watch some Law & Order. And then I took a nap because I needed the nap. And then I think it was like 2:30. Then I woke up at like 4:30 or 5, something like that. It is now 6:52. I recorded. Then I spent spent like 30 minutes writing jokes for Late Night Lately because I'm doing the monologue again. And let me tell you, these are the best jokes I've written. I'm not kidding. If you go listen to Late Night Lately, episode 75, these are the best friggin' jokes I've written. And oh boy, I was so excited to deliver. I even practiced. It's great. What else happened? I did not see a movie this week. I was going to see The Long Walk on Tuesday because I believed this week was the last week it was going to be at my local theater. And then I ended up not going. And then on Wednesday I was going to see The Smashing Machine, and then I thought I don't want to pay Dolby prices for that. I didn't want to pay even then it would have been like $15 or no, it'd have been 15. It'd been 15. I don't want to pay 15. I just didn't want to spend $15 to see a drama in Dolby Atmos. And that's what it is. It's going to be a drama, but I will see that movie, The Smashing Machine, maybe next week. This week I wanted to rewatch Ballerina, the John Wick spinoff, which I love. Go listen to the episode from a couple of months ago after I saw that movie. I love that movie. But it's on Stars. So I've exhausted, for some reason I went to Hulu to get the Stars add-on, the week trial. And it did not go through. The week trial did not work for me. And for some reason, I still have a Paramount trial on that. And I don't know if they're charging me, but maybe there's no money to be charged. So I don't know why it's still there. Anyway, so it wouldn't work on Hulu. And then I try to go to the app, and the app only has like a trial if you pay for like 2 or 3 months or something like that. And I didn't want to do that. And then Prime Video, I didn't have a trial available there. So I went, where else can I get a trial? So I went to YouTube. YouTube has primetime channels. So just like Amazon channels and just like Hulu, you can subscribe to add-ons there. So I subscribed there. And then since my YouTube is connected to YouTube TV, Stars has been on YouTube TV. And it's just been... there's not a lot on Stars, I'll tell you that much. I went through the entire catalog just to like justify having this thing for a week and this free thing for a week. So I went through and I just basically added movies I wanted to watch, and that's it. I watched Flight Risk, the Mel Gibson directed movie starring Mark Wahlberg and Topher Grace and Michelle Dockery. And Jesus Christ, if I have never seen a bigger piece of shit. Like truly, I watch a lot of movies. I watch a lot of TV shows. And to see this movie, and I call movie shows, to see this movie, I didn't want to support it in theaters, and quite frankly, I didn't want to support it, period. But I figured that Mel Gibson wasn't going to get anything from the star me watching it on Stars in a free trial. Oh my god, that movie sucked so much. Typically with a movie like that, it'll be the weekend, it'll be 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and I'm about to do a live Peloton class or whatever, and I'm watching that movie in the corner on the TV while I'm on my iPad and my bike and I'm cycling, or I'm on the treadmill running and I play that movie for 40-minute spurts while I'm running. No, I watched it. I sat down and watched it during the day. Oh my god, that movie sucks. Flight Risk. I'm telling you, do not watch it at all. And I will say this: that's the story's not good, but the premise is interesting. To have an entire movie take place, well, not entire movie, to have 80 minutes of a 90-minute movie take place on a plane. Yeah, sure. But Jesus Christ, that movie stunk. What else did I watch? The Killer Game, I believe, starring Sofia Boutella and Dave Bautista. That movie was very fun. And that was also a movie I was going to see in theaters, but I just never ended up sawing. I never ended up sawing. Okay. Let's get on with the stories. This comes from the New York Times, and it's written by Benjamin Mullen, Lauren Hirsch, and Michael M. Grinbaum. Paramount buys the Free Press, ushering in a new era at CBS News. Bari Weiss, who is I don't know another term for divisive, so she's a little less than divisive. I'll tell you the action she took after this purchase. It's been a little bit more divisive than usual. Bari Weiss is going to be the new head of CBS News. CBS's owner, Paramount and Paramount Skydance, just purchased the Free Press. Jesus, the Free Press. Times Free Press is a different company. I believe it is the Chattanooga-based local paper that is not good. It's an upstart digital news site founded by Weiss just 4 years ago. I'll tell you this: C+ Comedy is 12. The Free Press is 4. Crazy. And it's a Substack. It's more or less a Substack. And Weiss is going to be the editor-in-chief of CBS News. The purchase was roughly $150 million in cash, as well as Paramount stock. According to two people familiar with the terms, who spoke anonymity, it'll be paid over time, and it will probably fluctuate depending on the price of Paramount stock. Now, this is it's a decision that, I guess in the bigger thought process, it makes sense. The decision to buy the Free Press makes sense, and to add on to the cluster of whatever CBS News is, but to give this person, Bari Weiss, who is knowledgeable and is good at what she does, should not have this job. She's never been in charge of anything more than the Free Press. She was let's see, what has she done before this? Hold on, I do want to do it is I don't know if she is somebody who should be in charge of this, but again, she's never run a TV network, she's never done anything. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm skipping through a lot of stuff, and I should have done more than this. But Weiss's Free Press had 170,000 paying subscribers, or has rather, which is roughly 1.5 million readers total, including non-paying people. The whole thing had a heterodox, which means not conforming or accepted with accepted or orthodox standards or beliefs, editorial approach, and opinion columns on business, politics, and international affairs. The site has about 50 employees and offices on both coasts, and has some really good people working there. The thing is, this place, the Free Press, is known. It wants to be objective, as every news source should be. However, the problem is that they take the approach that they in which they do for news is just not very good. Now, CBS News, as David Ellison, the new owner, son of conservative Larry Ellison, wants to do with CBS News, he wants to make sure that the mission for CBS News stays the same, but he wants to shake things up. What that means in the long run, I have no clue. For broadcast news, you shouldn't want to change things too much. You should be broadcast news, ABC, NBC, and CBS News should be truly the most approachable ways for news. If CNN and CNBC, MSNBC, MS Now, if CNN, MS Now, and Fox News are the ones that, change your opinions, and they should not, but they affect who you are and what you think, the NBC, CBS, and ABC News, respectively, should be what should be considered as news sources that you should trust. And as much as I do not enjoy CBS Mornings, Today Show, and Good Morning America's stories, often just glossing over a lot of very important, minute details that they can't really tackle in their morning programs. So it's really just a me thing. As much as I dislike that, these shows still have to be, these sources of news have to be as reliable as possible. And to get somebody who is in charge of a website, who she used to work at the New York Times, and she started the Free Press, where she was in the opinion section, to get somebody to work to be in charge of the news like this is going to change the tide of what broadcast news is. Now, she left the New York Times because of, quote, constant bullying by colleagues and an illiberal environment, which basically means that she thought that she said that the New York Times was a place where ideas were basically shut down, which I there's a lot of points I don't disagree. And there's been points where they post something from somebody like Tom Cotton, who will have something completely racist, and it just won't be correct. And then there are other times where the board will post something against Donald Trump, and so yeah, I mean, maybe there are moments where the New York Times can be for one side or the other, or just not follow up on things in the same way that it could happen on at any and most other news sources. There is also, so on the Free Press, they had an opinion column from people like Yuri Berliner, who was a former senior editor at NPR, and he accused the organization of left-wing bias, and he had a first-person account from a former senior producer and correspondent of Now This, which is a news organization known for its viral social videos about the organization's environmental coverage. The Free Press has its critics within the news world, not just including people like me, but also people like Steve Inskeep, who hosts Morning Edition from NPR. He wrote that it contained, in his own Substack, that it contained many sweeping statements for which the writer is unable to offer evidence, which is, and a writer for The Nation, which is a progressive magazine, wrote that the Free Press publishes pro-establishment bilge that allows wealthy Americans to pretend that they are actually besieged outsiders, which that's very heavy language, and but it does make sense for what the mission statement of what Bari Weiss wants from the Free Press. Now, we'll get into this. Who is Bari Weiss? This comes from Variety, written by Tatiana Siegel. Inside Bari Weiss's $150 million journey from rejected View host to CBS News editor-in-chief. She's just gaming the system. I didn't know this. She was supposed to be one of the hosts of The View, and apparently Alyssa Farah Griffin, who was the former Trump White House director at Strategic Communications, she got the job, and she's also very gorgeous. I mean, I'd put my head down whenever she started talking about Trump stuff. I'd just put my head down. I don't think she's a Trumper anymore, but anyway, she's now the Republican talking head on The View. So for Weiss, she would end up, now that she's in charge of CBS News, she's got all of this real estate to work with. A news organization that is changing after a lawsuit, especially coming from the 60 Minutes lawsuit. That like a news organization that is not willing to bite the hand that feeds it. Honey, you have to stop. And referring back to what that progressive writer wrote about Weiss and the Free Press, and what Steve Inskeep said, there's going to have to be sourcing. There's going to have to be something that that viewers can latch onto and source this by, and also just not have the bias. According to this piece, some insiders were horrified by a different kind of bias at CBS News before Weiss's arrival, noting that the treatment of CBS Mornings anchor Tony DeCopel, if you don't remember, Tony had a little bit of and not argument, but like an impasse discussion with Ta-Nehisi Coates, accusing him of not adhering to the network's editorial norms when they were talking about Palestine and Israel. I will not get wrapped up into it. But they said that this is why, that like reasons why that the insiders suggest that that's why somebody like Bari was brought in. $100 million for an outlet that is, again, younger than C Plus Comedy. And I understand there's two different versions of blah blah blah, but that is an insane price. She's also a lesbian. Oh my goodness. This so they sent out memos, and I'll get to this and LinkedIn logs next week, but they sent out memos basically asking, what do you do? Which is fucking crazy. This comes from Variety, written by Brian Steinberg. Paramount bets digital provocateur Bari Weiss can re-energize CBS. Now, they sent out a couple of memos asking, what do you do in a week? But also, when they announced Bari coming in as the editor-in-chief of CBS News, this is from October 6th, she wrote that she's thrilled and humbled to be writing to you as the new editor-in-chief. Her deep ties to CBS and all that stuff. And then she also wrote down some goals. My goal in the coming days and weeks is to get to know you. I want to hear from you about what's working, what isn't, and your thoughts on how we can make CBS News the most trusted news organization in America and the world. I'll approach it the way any reporter would, with an open mind, a fresh notebook, and an urgent deadline. When I was at CNN, this was more or less said, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they want your input. When I worked at a restaurant on Canton Street in Roswell, Georgia, I worked at a couple, but I worked at a restaurant. It was actually off Canton Street, and I don't remember what it was called. But anyway, the owner, most of the clientele were his friends. And you can't survive with just your friends coming in, and it'd be busy at times, and a lot of times it would not be busy. I would quit that job because I couldn't even pull $60 on a Saturday night. Anyway, so the owner, for the months I was working there, we had like maybe one or two, I was going to say network-wide meetings, restaurant-wide meetings, where he'd bring in the other, it was like me and the bartender and the other 4 servers who worked there. And then he would ask for our suggestions on how we can make the restaurant better. And I remember very specifically, like maybe a week or two before I quit, I said, hey, your friends, the good old boys, are the only ones coming in, and you can't survive on this. And then he very shut me down. He's like, well, this is how this is how we make money, and they do tip a lot, and blah blah blah. And again, I didn't make money there. So anyway, to to give like a false sense of security, like everybody's job is okay, and it's just such a stupid thing to see, and we know what's going to happen after this point. Anyway, Weiss continues, what I can tell you on day one is that I stand for the same core journalistic values that that have defined this profession since the beginning, and I will continue to champion them alongside you. And she gave 10 values about journalism, I guess. Journalism, so I'll just read these out. Journalism that reports on the world as it actually is. Journalism that is fair, fearless, and factual. Journalism that respects our audience enough to tell the truth plainly wherever it leads. That makes sense of a noisy, confusing world. That explains things clearly without pretension or jargon. That holds both American political parties to equal scrutiny. You mean both big mainline ones? I think there's a couple. That embraces a wide spectrum of views and voices, so already defying 6, so that the audience can contend with the best arguments on all sides of debate. That rushes toward the most interesting and important stories regardless of their unpopularity. That uses all the tools of the digital era. That understands the best way to serve America is to endeavor to present the public with the facts first and foremost. So it seems like you're already defying what you want. But anyway, Dan Rather came out and said, if you know Dan Rather, he was probably the biggest newscaster on broadcast. Yeah, I would say that. I mean, in my eyes, he's one of the biggest news broadcasters on broadcast. He worked at CBS for 44 years. This comes from Alyssa Ray at The Wrap. Dan Rather rips into Bari Weiss deal, Skydance Paramount merger. American people will pay the price. And he is correct. When you have somebody who has a bent to the news, then we're already losing. We're going to lose what makes news, and that is objectivity. When David Zaslav appointed Mark Thompson in charge of CNN, and then when you let people go like Jim Acosta because they report the news and they go against your buddy, Donald J. Trump, then CNN. I have no hopes for CNN after this point. The same goes for CBS News when you hire Bari Weiss, somebody whose website does not do what news should do. I guess in today's day and age, it does exactly what it should do, and that is, as the Silicon Valley people say, move fast and break things. But even still, it's a Substack. It's a Substack. Which, oddly enough, he posted on his Substack. He called out Weiss's credentials, noting that CBS News was, quote unquote, not a reporter, and, quote, has never worked in television news, quote, or led a staff larger than a few dozen prior to the hire. She does have, as Rather points out in his post, the ear of the billionaire class, and that's very true. She is somebody, I guarantee. I think this is a great show. I think these people are smart, but I do think that they are very disengaged from the regular person. Pivot. The Kara Swisher and Scott Galloway hosted podcast. Those people are so they're good at what they do. They do have money, and in that, knowing that, considering that, they are very disconnected from what we, the regular person, are and should be represented as. We can be on the same side of history all we want, but in the end, these are people who are just for the bottom dollar, and that's not really good for us. But will that be something, as Rather points out, that'll be a good thing for something like CBS News having the ear of the billionaire class. Tim Cook is a billionaire, but he's okay with Trump in the same way that Jeff Bezos is, in the same way that Elon Musk is. These people don't care about us. That's what's important. Rather continued, it's hard to believe Weiss will be an equitable steward of the storied news division in light of how the Ellisons acquired it, which was very guerrilla it was a very guerrilla tactic in how they acquired it. And if you remember, they basically settled a lawsuit with the 60 Minutes lawsuit. They basically canceled Colbert. It's come on. That deal and the hiring of Weiss signals to everyone, especially to the man in the Oval Office, that CBS is no longer independent. Very true. But under the tutelage of a conservative billionaire who is putting more than his thumb on the scale. And no matter what David Ellison has to say, his father is going to have some sort of hand driving Paramount Skydance. Most of the money came from Paramount Skydance. When a kid in their 20s has very little money and they have to ask for help from their parents, hey, you're going to have to go to Christmas. You're going to have to go to Thanksgiving, even if you don't want to. It's very true. Walter Cronkite is the other person I was thinking of. So we're only in week 1, and I'll talk about this on LinkedIn Logs, but there's the second memo going around asking what do you do all day this is the second time in a year that we've seen that happen for a big company, and it's batshit. All right, let's move on. Jimmy Kimmel sat down with Aziz Ansari this week to talk about good fortune. This video is playing, and he asked why Aziz did the Rida Comedy Festival. Now, if you don't, Jesus Christ, you just saw the email for C Plus Comedy. You just saw the inbox. I like to keep a clean inbox. It is almost full, which is very interesting. Anyway, so about halfway through the interview, Kimmel asked us very pointedly, and I wouldn't. The articles going around is like Jimmy Kimmel grills Aziz Ansari. No, it's very much Jimmy's like, hey man, why did you decide to do this? And he answers, there you go. It's not grills, but Kimmel does point out that it's a pretty brutal regime. That's his quote. The Saudi Arabian regime, and they've done a lot of horrible things. Now Kimmel's referring to the Islamic regime led by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who had, on top of a lot of other things, reporter Jamal Khashoggi killed, who is definitely against women's rights, who had public executions, including crucifixions, in the modern day and age. And Kimmel asked, people are questioning why you would go there and take the money to perform in front of these people. I'm curious as to why you decided to do that. Now, if you don't know, the Rida Comedy Festival is a comedy festival put on by Mohammed bin Salman, and it's essentially a comedy festival that he funded for the people of Saudi Arabia. Now, there's two different thoughts processes behind this. These comedians, Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, Chris Stefano, a bunch of other comedians, will tell you that they did it because they wanted to give the people over there comedy. Louis C.K. But these comedians were paid, for some of them, not a lot of money. And for a lot of other people, like Chris Stefano, it was a lot of money. But for Louis C.K., for Dave Chappelle, for Aziz Ansari, for Kevin Hart, they don't need that money. So to say that you were over there to perform for these people is, sure. Yeah, I guess that's the story. But the money didn't come from the people. The money came from Mohammed bin Salman, which it's blood money. Ansari said, there's people over there that don't agree with the stuff that the government's doing, and to ascribe like the worst behavior of the government onto those people, that's not fair. Just like there's people in America that don't agree with the things the government is doing. That's very true. But they have done a lot of bad things over there that go against what humanity has been for the past hundreds of years, hundreds and hundreds of years, for the past hundred years. Ansari came back, Aziz came back and said, I was just there to do a show for the people. Whenever there's repressive societies like this, they try to keep things out, whether it's rock and roll music or blue jeans, because it makes people curious about outside ideas, outside values. And this is a very young country. Like half of the country is under the age of 25, and things can really change, excuse me. And to me, a comedy festival felt like something that's pushing things to be more open and to push a dialogue. What's interesting is that comedians like Atsuko Okasaka posted the contract that said you couldn't speak out against the regime. You couldn't say certain things. Anyway, Aziz would basically go on to say that he's donating his money to Reporters Without Borders, the money that he earned from this festival, which I believe could only come up to about 1.6 million. You might hear Maverick barking. He is sleeping and he's having a... Maverick, it's all right, buddy. He's having a dream. Anyway, comedian paydays ranged from mid six figures up to $1.6 million for one show, sources told Variety. Now, what's interesting is that Aziz said he's donating his money, and according to Reporters Without Borders, this comes from Ethan Shanfield from Variety. Human Rights Watch cannot accept donations from Aziz Ansari and other comedians who performed at the Rida Comedy Festival. They don't want to do it. They don't want to take it because the money is blood money. A spokesperson for Human Rights Watch said the organization cannot accept donations from Ansari and other comedians who have generously offered to donate part of their performance fees. Jessica Kirsten said, who is a lesbian and a woman, said that she was going to donate her funds as well. This comes from The Hollywood Reporter, Chris Gardner. Stand-up comedian Jessica Kirsten donates Rida Comedy Festival fee to Human Rights Campaign. The people said that they were going to do it to donate their money. She said specifically that she's giving it to an undisclosed human rights organization. But the Human Rights Watch said, while we cannot accept, it is not too late for them to call for the release of detained Saudi activists, said Joey Shea, Saudi Arabia researcher at Human Rights Watch. She added, Human Rights Watch didn't call for comedians to boycott the Rida Comedy Festival, but simply asked them to express their support for free speech by urging the release of Saudi activists unjustly imprisoned. People were killed for small drug offenses over there. So to say that you're doing this for the people is, quite frankly, a little selfish to pretend that you are I'm sorry, I have breaking news. It's crazy. Oh, no, that's not breaking news. It's something about Bill Belichick. Anyway, it is to say that you're doing it for the people is you're trying to make yourself seem like you are the God, you're trying to make yourself seem like you are the better person for doing it. This is a problem I have with comedians and people in the media in general. In the media, I don't want to be one of those people. This is what a problem I have with comedians and people with platforms in general, in that they think that they are these pariahs, these messiahs sent from the heavens above and speaking truth to power, and they're philosophers. And no, you're not. You're somebody who happens to be funnier than someone else. You are not this. And this is a problem I have with, us as viewers, at all sizes of viewers. Somebody like Gayle King, who says, I can't wait to see what Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr have to say on SNL because they're going to host this weekend. I can't wait to see this. I can't wait to see that. It doesn't matter because something big happened in the news. It doesn't matter what these people have to say. They do not speak for us. They do not speak for you. As much as I hate Fox News, and I do not like the people that watch Fox News religiously, there's some Fox News viewers who probably don't view with Ducey and Jesse and Kilimanjaro and the rest of those fuckwads over there. Because there's people on CNN that I don't agree with. There's people on MS Now that I do not agree with. So MS Now is so fucking stupid. What a dumb name. So to believe that Louis C.K. and Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle are people that speak for us is completely insane and stupid and asinine. Now, Bill Burr, this comes from Chris Gardner over at the Hollywood Reporter, defended his going over there. Bill Burr fires back at critics of his Ryder Comedy Festival appearance. Sacrimonious, you know what the C word is. It's cunts. He sat down for an interview that is, again, if you subscribe to SiriusXM Podcast Plus, it's out right now, but it'll be out next week on Monday. He sat down with Conan O'Brien, who I thought would be better than this, to discuss for a live show at Hollywood's Fonda Theater to discuss his reasoning for going over there. And he brought it up almost immediately. Now, let's see. Hold on. He said the Royals loved the show. Everyone was happy. The people that were doing the festival were thrilled. The comedians that I've been talking to are saying, dude, you can feel the audience wanted it. They wanted to see real stand-up comedy. It was a mind-blowing experience. Definitely top 3 experiences I've had. I think it's going to lead to a lot of positive things. Now, other people that appeared on the show, besides Dave Chappelle, Louis C.K., Kevin Hart, and Bill Burr and Aziz, included Pete Davidson, Whitney Cummings, Andrew Scholes, Jim Jeffries, Joe Coy, Sebastian Maniscalco, Mark Norman, Tom Segura, Bobby Lee, Jeff Ross, and a few others. The thing is, you hear some of those names, you expect someone like Whitney Cummings to go over there, and I mean maybe even Jim Jeffries and Tom Segura, but you hear some of these names and you go, why are you there? Why is Sebastian Maniscalco going over there? And why is Kevin Hart going over there? You tour the world, you do stadiums, you do these giant places. Why do that? But then you hear, Mark Normand and Bobby Lee, Joe Coy even. And I think, why? Why are you doing this? Like, you don't need, like, you're doing it for the money, but why? Like, truly. I heard Mark Maron and David Cross and a bunch of other comedians came out against it. I heard someone reason, and I can't remember who. I want to say Wayne Fetterman, or I don't know. I don't want to put his name out there like that. But I heard someone say, a comedian suggest why, it's like doing a corporate gig, where you can't say certain things, you can't make fun of the boss or anything, but in those terms, doing a gig for Dell is different than doing a gig for somebody who, and taking money from somebody who routinely kills people. Now, Conan did not push back. He more or less egged Burr on, saying things like, oh, so you're here to apologize. And no, at no point did Bill Burr apologize. In fact, I think I read online, this is like one of the few times where I go to Reddit, and I typed in, I tried to, I think there's a Conan subreddit, yes, and people were posting. I went to that live show. People walked out. We did not enjoy it. It was not fun, and I'm really disappointed in Burr and in Conan, and in some facets, yeah, I am. But this is what I've been talking about. We shouldn't put these people on this pedestal of having of speaking our thoughts and being the ones who are the what is it, the microphones for who we are. Burr said, I really don't give a fuck, Conan, and if it affects my career, I've been to LAX enough of my life. I'll fucking sit at home for a little bit. I will actually tell you LAX is slightly sadder than Saudi Arabia. Again, the show is out on SiriusXM Podcast right now, or you can wait a couple of days and listen to it. But just the defense here is textbook Bill Burr, but it does not make him look any better. If like him defending, making fun of regular people, that's fun and enjoyable. But man, I can't see this. This is going to be like a gray, like not a gray era. This is going to be a mark on, and it should be a mark on all of these comedians' career. This should be something that is noted in the Wikipedias. This should be like, when I see on the Red Hot Chili Peppers Wikipedia, when I was getting into them, and I go to Wikipedia and I see sexual assaults, I go, oh, Jesus Christ. That should be in the back of my head every single time I listen to a Red Hot Chili Peppers song. And it is. And then everybody, but I think everybody has their own line. There's people that still listen to Chris Brown. There's people that don't care what Louis did. Even though that those are reprehensible things that they did, there's people that just that can separate it, and there's people that can't separate it. I'm one of those people that cannot separate it. I still have a hard time listening to Michael Jackson songs, and when I'm listening to Sirius XM in my car, and I'm on 80s on 8 or 90s on 9, and a Michael Jackson song pops up, I go, I can't put this out of my head. Can't put what he did out of my head. Interesting. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website cpluscomedy.com, where you can see basically everything I've ever done. If you want to see a video version of this show, go to youtube.com/cpluscomedy, where you can see video versions of the other podcasts, Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show, and LinkedIn Logs, the Jobs podcast, as well as the interviews, which is where I interview famous people. You can subscribe to those shows wherever you get your podcasts. Please do. Follow us on social media at @C+Comedy on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. Follow me on those platforms at Chad Black White. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. All right, this is the end. I almost came up to the part where it's going to explode. Bye.